Today we're excited to announce the release of tables and tags in RemNote. Tables make it easy to create structured flashcards and to organize your ideas. They're easy to get started with, but are super powerful, so let's jump in. You can create your first table by pressing the plus button to the next of any bullet and selecting Table View, or by typing /table on any bullet. You'll then be asked to either create a new table or use an existing one. We'll make a new one here and start organizing our reading list. Each table is associated with a given tag, which is the kind of information you want to organize in that table. For example, you might make tables to organize everything tagged as a pharmaceutical drug, or as an element in the periodic table, or as an algorithm, a project, something in a reading list, anything you want to organize or learn. By default, I can add content by just typing in cells here, as you might expect. I can rename each of these properties, which are what we call columns, into anything that I want. For example, for my reading list, maybe I want to know the genre of what I want to read, or maybe some web link to its URL. Within each text box, I cannot add only normal text, but I can also add formatted text. I can add bold here, or I can add a rem reference to whatever I want. Or I can even make it a list by pressing Enter to split it out into multiple bullets. I can add as many bullets as I would like here, indent them with Tab, collapse them by pressing the toggle, and I can use all of the normal features from the RemNote bullet point editor that you would expect. You can add new rows by either pressing Add Row at the bottom here, or just pressing the plus to the left of any row, and then you can drag them around to reorder them. Or you can drag around their columns, their properties, to organize those as well. Let's imagine that I'm reading Harry Potter. I want to track the status of how far I've gotten in the book, so I'll add a new property here for status, and then I also want to remember the author maybe, so I'll go and add that property here as well. After filling out that information, I can press Open by hovering over the name cell and then clicking it here, and now you can see that the entire row can be viewed as a normal RemNote document. The properties appear at the top here in a nicely editable view. Again here, of course, I can not only add normal text here, but I can press Enter to split this out into multiple bullets if I would like. Or I can just use the normal bullet point editor down below to add any information. If we go back here, maybe I want to remember my top 3 takeaways for any book that I'm reading. I can just add a column here for top 3 takeaways, and then I can change Generate Card here from Forget to Two-Way. Now, when I start adding my takeaways here, A, B, and C, whatever I want to remember, you can see that cards have automatically been generated, shown by this little icon here. When I click on it, you can see that the first card is asking me what the takeaways of Harry Potter are. And then the next card will ask me which book or which item in my reading list has these takeaways. As a more academic example, let's maybe make a table for pharmaceutical drugs. Again, I'll just go ahead and clear this out here, and then type /table to make a new table. I've gone ahead and filled that out, and now you can see that we have each of these properties generating a variety of cards for us to learn. This one is helping us to remember the brand name for each of these drugs, the classification, their uses, their side effects. Again, these will each generate cards that prompt you on these at the granular item level. This is really useful for when learning with spaced repetition to help you focus your time on the ideas that you need the most repetition on, and to make each practice session as quick and efficient as possible. In addition to being able to add flashcards from properties, you can also make normal front-back flashcards from tables in RemNote. As a reminder, you can make a front-back flashcard anywhere by just making a bullet, typing front, typing the double right arrow symbol once and then twice, and then typing back. Now you can see that it's making a card that looks like this, showing me the front and then asking me to remember the back. You can do the same thing in a table by just clicking on the name column and then just typing the same double right arrow symbol once and then twice. You can see that this definition column automatically appears. I can now type in whatever definition I want right into there. Then you can keep adding these other properties with additional cards to help expand and enrich your understanding of that concept. For each of the properties, you can additionally configure the cards to show other properties on either the front or the back. For example, on my card about the uses of a pharmaceutical drug, I might also want to test myself on the side effects and have them appear on the back. If I go to the Properties column here, and then press Configure Cards, which will appear if you've enabled Generate Cards, Then I can configure additional properties to show on the front or back. If I click side effects here, this will appear on the back. And in the queue, you can see that when it's testing me on the uses and I press show answer, it'll additionally show me the side effects on the back here. So far, we've mostly looked at text in tables, but tables can also include a variety of other rich information. Here you can see this classification column is an example of not text, but of a single select property type. There are currently 10 powerful property types, making it easy to structure ideas of different kinds. The text type is the default one. This lets you add normal text and the multiple lines and rich text. The number property type helps enforce you that you only type numbers into the cell. For example, maybe I want it for dosages here. The checkbox type will just show a checkbox in each cell here. Note that if you open this up as a document, this will appear as a checkbox at the top as well. The date type will show a date picker within the cell. You can either click on it here, or you can even type with rich text, something like next Monday. The multi-select and single select property types are particularly powerful. When I click on this, by default, it'll let me select any custom options that I want. I can add them just by typing in the cell here. This is actually what we're using for the classification property. If I open this here, you can see that it's letting me select from the existing classification options that I added. Or I can add some new one just by typing it in here and then pressing create. This is a single select, so it'll only let me select one at a given time. But if I change this to a multi-select, well, then I can select as many as I want. By default, the single and multi-select are configured with custom options. You can change this to let you select from any rem in your knowledge base for a very flexible kind of linking, or to select from any rem with a specific tag. For example, I could then go down here and make a new table for drug classifications. I can move each of my classifications down into this table, anti-migraine, and the others. And then if I go back up here and change this to anything with the drug classification tag, when I search, it'll now automatically find anything in this table here. This, for example, could be useful using the definition feature, where now I can easily go and add a definition for what each of these drug classifications actually are, helping to tie those ideas together in my head. Finally, if we look at the remaining property types, we have created at, last updated at, image, and URL, each of which would do as you would expect. For example, image turns the entire column into a nice image drop target, helping you to pretty up your documents. Each of these property types come with a set of powerful filters that help you to customize exactly what you want to see. For example, if we go back to our classifications, I might only want to see my antihistamines. I can then just press filter here, select classification, and then change it to only show me antihistamines. Everything else automatically got filtered away. Each of the property types have their own filters. So if, for example, I changed it to this number field here, you can see that I can change it to greater or less than. If I change it to this date here, then you can see that I get an entire date picker for either a specific date, or I could change it to be some relative dates and more. Here, I might want to see the same knowledge with a variety of different filters. For example, I might want to have a table of all of my pharmaceutical drugs like this, but separately have a table of only antihistamines. I can do so by making a new table down here, again using the /table command, and now selecting use existing tag. Here, I can select my pharmaceutical drugs, and you can see that it will pull down the exact same data that I have in my table above. Now I can filter down one of these by the classification of antihistamines, and now I can see both of these side by side. If I change the classification of something in here, for example this one, to antihistamine as well, you'll notice that it will automatically appear in the top here. When I click it, it immediately appears. If I add a new row, the same thing will happen. Here I press add row, and you can see that it appears both in the top here and in my bottom table. If I give it a name, you can see it appears in both places. This is because the underlying data here are just rem that are tagged with pharmaceutical drugs. This makes it really easy to organize and view your data however you would like. For example, if I'm learning this and I want to only focus on practicing my antihistamines, I immediately can do so now by just creating my table, filtering it by antihistamines, and then clicking practice. Tables have a variety of other configuration options as well. You can sort them based on any of the field that you would like. You can search for any text in your table, And you can then apply the rest of the config options from the menu here. First, you can decide which properties, the columns, you want to see or not, just by toggling them on or off here. Here, for example, maybe I only want to see the usage and the dosage. So I'll just get rid of the others here, and now I have a nice clean table. The configure options are at the table level, so I can show these columns here, but if I go back to my other table, then you can see that I can still display everything if I would like. Additionally, I can go and toggle on showing vertical lines or not. You can see that they appear right there. Or I can enable this hide configuration option here, which will get rid of some of the config options in the top here and clean that up for a more concise view. I can also customize the name of the table. For example, if I filter this down to only show drugs that are greater than some given dosage, then I can go and change this to edit the table name to high dosage drugs. Now if I change this back to hide configuration, you can see I get a nice clean table. Finally, we have the cell list type, which controls how lists are displayed in the table. By default, you'll edit in the pop-up here, but when you close out of the pop-up, you'll only see 3, helping to ensure that even long lists don't make your table unwieldy and hard to work with. If you do want to see everything, you can simply go to Table and then select Full here. That'll change it so that the entire list is automatically displayed. Again, you can use the full power of the editor here, adding nested bullets, collapsing them, and more. If you want to see less data, then you can change this not to full, but to compact. This will shrink everything down into a single line, and again, you can just click on it to edit it in the pop-up. Now, let's talk about lists. In RemNote, everything is a rem, which is just a normal bullet, and that includes table rows. If we change this here from table to list, you can see that each of our rows are now just displayed as a normal bullet. This lets us use the full power of the editor. We can add new bullets here by pressing enter. We can toggle them open and closed. When you toggle them open, you'll see just the children bullets as normal. And you can indent things as much as you would like. You can also still see the properties here. To do so, go to the config menu in the top right, go to properties, and then select the one that you want to see. Now, change the property location not to be only on top of the document, but to be either on the right or on the bottom. If I set it to on bottom here, you can now see that each of my fields are now showing their brand name. If you click on this, then you can delete whatever you don't want here and edit it again with the full bullet point experience. This makes it easy to view all of the data related to your tag from the bullet itself without having to use the full table view unless you want to. Again, each of these are just a bullet with a given tag. In this case, these are tagged as pharmaceutical drugs, and because of that, they're appearing in this list or in this table here. Thus, you can add any bullet to this table just by tagging it as a pharmaceutical drug. If I make a new bullet up here or anywhere else and call it whatever I would like, some new drug, I can add it tag by pressing hashtag once and then twice, typing pharmaceutical drug or just selecting it from this menu. And now you can see that my new drug automatically appeared in this table as well. If I edit this, then you can see that it's changing in both places. This is really the same bullet underneath. You can also just press the open button on the name column to edit it. You can see that all the properties are appearing at the top, even if the row was not added from within the table. As mentioned, tags show all rem with the given tag. If you click on the tag at the top here, you'll be brought to the tags page, which is a central place that includes all information about that tag in your knowledge base. For example, this tag page here is showing me everything related to pharmaceutical drugs. It's showing me all the instances, everything that's tagged with the tag pharmaceutical drugs in my knowledge base, and it's also showing me anything that I recently interacted with here. Let's explore this further by making a tag that helps us organize our projects. Make a new tag by going to your sidebar, pressing create, and then selecting table/tag. We're organizing projects here, so let's type in projects, and then press create. We're now brought to a new tag page for projects. You can see at the bottom, we again have a list of all of our instances where we can start filling out our projects. I've added a few items here for the tables launch, acing the step 1 exam, or setting up my desk, and you can see that I can now organize them however I would like, with a due date column, status. This jump back in also becomes really useful here, where I can now quickly see which projects I was recently working on and immediately get back into them. This will pull projects in from anywhere in your knowledge base. For example, if you're writing in your daily notes or elsewhere, and you start thinking about some new project of maybe I want to make a mixtape, all I need to do is tag this as a project, again by typing the double hashtag and then selecting project here. And now when I go back to my projects, it'll automatically be included in this list as well. On this page, I can also create a variety of views or tables that let me customize how I want to think about it. For example, I might want to only see projects that are in progress or projects that are due in the next week. Here, if I click New View, it'll create a table that has the same underlying tag and thus shows me the same information. Here, I can now again add a filter, select Status, and change it to In Progress, and now I have a nice table for anything in progress. If I add another new view and filter it down for anything with a due date in maybe, let's say, relative today, in this week, and now I set the due date appropriately here, then it'll show me anything due this week. Okay, so that's the bottom of the tag page. In the middle here, you just have a normal scratchpad, just a normal RemNote document where you can add anything that you're thinking about. Maybe you want to remember some general approach that you're taking with your projects, of like sticking with SMART goals or not letting your due dates expand. You can add some notes for yourself here. At the top, you can see this View Configuration option. Toggling that open shows the properties on the left, where you can either edit the existing properties or add a new one. And on the right, you can see templates. Templates are arbitrary RemNote documents that you can easily copy into any rem with the given tag. A given tag can have multiple templates. Here, for example, let's make 2 templates for projects. Maybe I want one for large projects and another one for quick one-day projects. For my large project template, I might want to remember and organize things like my goals, any notes, success metrics, and so on. Here, I'll format this up a little bit more. So I'll turn these each into headers using the / command. And now my template is good to go. When I go back to an instance now, maybe this one, you can see that it's automatically showing me these templates and asking if I want to apply them. When I click on this here, the template text will be automatically copied and displayed in this document. If I want to switch the template, I can do so by clicking on the menu at the top here. Templates have a lot of power baked into them. For example, if I go back and edit my template for problem statement here, now when I go back to my individual instance, the one that has the template applied, you can see this little blue icon here. This is showing me that there's an update available for this template, the new header that I just added. If I click it, you can see that that new header was automatically added to this document here. This is done intelligently. We make sure not to delete any data for you, and we make sure that this is added in the right place in your document, even if you've already edited the template yourself. If we go and set up our quick one-day projects template for maybe all I want here is just a notes section, and again go back to my project here, you can also see that you can quickly switch between templates by pressing apply and remove here. It'll just switch it again intelligently for you. Now let's imagine that I've started to organize goals for a bunch of my different projects. Maybe here I'm just writing down my goals, A, B, and C. What if I now want to see all of the goals across my projects? Maybe I want to confirm that they're realistic or I'm not biting off more than I can chew. Right now, it's not appearing in this table because goals is not a property. Tables will only show the name and any properties that you've defined. However, you can turn anything in the template into a property, even this goals section. There are 2 ways to do this. First, I can go into my table, into the config menu, and click on properties here. You can see that it's actually suggesting some properties for me automatically, inferring this from the headers in my template. If I click on goals here, it'll automatically add this to my list of visible properties. And now if we go back to the table, we can see that my ABC goals are appearing here. If I go and add more information here, maybe I have goals D, E, and F as well, and then again zoom into this row, you can see that they're added directly to my content. This makes it easy to take notes as normal and then still see them in the table view. So that's how you configure your tag. You can set up properties that help you organize structured data, and then you can set up templates, which are arbitrary RemNote documents that you can copy into your instances. To see all of your tags, you can go to the tags page here. Here you can see a list of all of your tags at the bottom, a list of community example tags, which you can import into your knowledge base, and then a list of pin tags at the top. For example, I might be thinking about my projects and pharmaceutical drugs a lot. So if I pin these, you can see that they appear at the top here. This tags page can be accessed in a few ways. First, once you create your first tag, it should automatically appear in your sidebar. If it's not, you can always get there by either searching for it or just pressing create, table tag, and then it'll open up in the background automatically. We're really excited about tables and the powerful tags, properties, and template system that powers them. There's a lot of polish and bells and whistles that we didn't get to in this video, so check out the others if you want to see that as well. To get started, I would suggest that you either go into Remnote and just create your first table and tag from the bottom left create menu, or go to this tag page here and look at the community tags. Each of these have examples, workflows, and videos, along with fully configured tables and tags that you can immediately import into your knowledge base. Click the link in the description to go look at these community tags examples, or click one of the other links in the description to check out other workflow videos or further deep dives into these features. Happy learning!